I'm pressing the go live button now.
All right.
All right.
See if we can do it the first
It says
time.
live. I see a live symbol on my thing.
We should be live.
We
Could
should be
someone put
live.
a hi in the chat if we're live?
Yep, there we go. We're good.
Hi.
Introduce us. Go, Kaz.
So welcome back, everyone, to another Tuesday Talks. And this month, we're joined by our very first male guest, Mr. Mark Hodges from
Hi,
the
everybody.
Old Scrolls YouTube channel. Mark's channel aims to uncover relationships between languages and our destiny on this. You put planet, Mark, but I have to say realm because I don't know what we're on.
Yeah, that's a good realm is a good term. I'm still
Where
trying
are
to
we?
pin down my experiences from my near-death experience. I'm still trying to process all that. That was a decade ago. In the middle of discovering all these new things that we've been discovering lately, which we haven't talked about yet. You guys don't even know what I'm going to say.
But
We
welcome,
have no
Mark.
idea.
It's such a pleasure.
It is.
We're glad to have you.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I've been looking forward to this for it's been about a month since we played this, or a month and a half, right?
Yeah.
Something
about
like
a
that.
month, yeah.
And even back then, so much has changed in my life since then. I don't even know where to start, but we're going to start somewhere, in a minute here.
Just tell us what your latest kind of direction, where you're headed at the moment.
Okay. So outside of YouTube, and I'm going to have a lot more content that's going to go up on YouTube, including the interview I just had with one of our very own members of our soul tribe, we call it now. But really everybody's in our soul tribe, but only a couple thousand know about it so far. At least they've signed up for it. But everybody's in our soul tribe. We are all connected in amazing ways, as you know. I know you guys know that concept. We're all connected with what I now call electric honey.
What is electric honey? I need to hear more about that.
Electric honey is what binds us all together. It tethers us all. Every cell in our body, every atom, everything. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a man. He's a physicist. His name is Nassim Haramein. Have you guys ever heard of him?
Nope.
No.
Okay, we'll have to put some links in your description of this video for him, because he's a self-taught physicist. He taught himself physics in a van down by the river, like on Saturday Night Live, right? So he taught himself physics, and he got an award for a paper he wrote. He didn't get the Peace Prize, which I think he deserves, but this Hadron Collider that they're trying to figure out what the God particle is at CERN.
Yeah.
Well, he's figured out he wrote a paper called the boson particle. And he and another a woman physicist, and I think she's from Belgium, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in that area. Those two put together a graph based on data, and it shows that the smallest thing that we know about, which is like a quark or something like that, has the same density as the whole universe. And they show it in a progression down a scale. So just imagine the tiniest cell in your body has the same density and mass of the whole universe. So his point is that instead of looking for the smallest particle, we should be studying the 99.99999% of everything they call the vacuum or dark matter, because that is the secret sauce, is what's in the dark matter. That's what I call electric honey. The dark matter, because that's where all the magic happens.
I like that better.
Yeah, it's I'm
going to adopt your saying.
Yeah, we're all electric. Our bodies are electric.
Yeah.
I always tell people nowadays that that movie, Hollywood knows about all the things we're going to discuss today. I can assure you, or some people in Hollywood know for sure, that make decisions on what people see. And they know this too, like Iron Man. Okay, Iron Man seems like it's a cartoon or something, but there's so much truth to that show. It's in reality that, you know, that thing that he has, Tony Stark has on his chest to power his suit. That is basically what our soul is that piece that fits in a suit. Our soul is electric. We're energy. Everything is energy, vibration. Nikola Tesla and everybody said that. You know, think of the universe in terms of vibration, frequency, and what's the third thing he said? He said frequency, vibration, and energy.
Energy, yeah.
So that's exactly it. So our bodies are just like a suit, like a astronaut would wear. That's what our body is. And what runs our body is our soul. And that's what makes everything. It provides the electricity. Then you got to say, where does that electricity come from? Well, it comes from our sun. Our sun is like a transformer or a relay station that relays. All the stars relay all this. You can think of all the stars. We look up in the sky and see all the stars. You can picture just imagine tethers or just lines connecting all of them, and they're all relaying energy. It's a grid. It's a giant grid that we're in the middle of.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where we get the energy that powers. And I'm still on the investigative phase, but alternating current has everything to do with that energy. And we're using it for one application to power things in our house and things, but scientists to this day don't even understand how alternating current works. They just know how to kind of use it. If only people knew that how alternating current works, they would be mad because they're paying for something that never goes away.
It's interesting that you say that, because I had a session where the guides talked about eventually we will all be so powerful that we will be the electricity that runs everything. Like we won't need the electricity that we have now, but we'll be the power. We'll be the ones powering everything. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's how it should be, right?
Yeah.
I think this is all about bringing the power back to us and stop giving it away.
That's why we're coming together, because we've forgotten all these things. And that's the whole purpose behind my YouTube channel, is to have one central place where people can go in the future, because we're going to die. It's inevitable. Our bodies are going to die, but our soul will still be here. But
eternal.
I envision a place where people can go in the future to remember who they are and remember all these things that we were taught to forget, because we were taught to forget these things, and we're coming together now to remember who we really are. And there are choices have consequences, and if we make certain choices, we can steer the planet and the whole universe in the right direction. There's just like everything in life, there's in the universe and creation, there's a positive and negative. There has to be. It's a balance. So we have to have negativity in our life for a certain reason, but the goal is to find the balance between the two. And that's the whole battle or game, if you will, that we're playing in this illusion here. Is we're playing. Who's going to tip the balance in their favor, the negative side or the positive side? It's just a very sensitive battle. That to me, it's like a game that we play.
Yeah, I'm done with the negative side. So over it.
Yeah, the negative side is not. You have to embrace the negative side.
No,
you have to embrace it. You have to embrace it. And what I mean by that is
integrate it. Yeah,
you have to turn the negative energy. See, energy can never die. It always has to live. Energy is energy. It can be negative energy or positive energy. You can turn the negative energy into positive energy. So, and
I feel like that's what we're doing, right? Just getting
Yeah,
brighter
and
and
this
brighter.
this goes to the root of everything we're going to talk about today, like forgiveness, unconditional forgiveness and love, and sacrifice, and no fear. Fear is the
No
number one
fear.
enemy.
Let's
Fear
talk
is
about the fear, because I know that's something you wanted to discuss today. So
definitely.
I want to bring those T-shirts back that say "No Fear." That company,
Yeah.
No Fear.
Do it, Tony. You sell T-shirts on your website.
I know.
Yeah.
I need to make one. No
Come
fear.
on.
Do it. I'll
No
buy
fear.
one.
Exactly.
We'll all wear
Yeah.
them on the next Tuesday Talks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doing it.
If I had to point to one thing that is where we went wrong, or what people don't see in their everyday life, is fear. We also need to get back to the little kid inside of us.
Yes.
The one that's not the there's always a negative side, remember. And I know when I was a kid I did stuff I'm not proud of, but we were all learning, and like I thought it was fascinating to open up an anthill and put a grasshopper in, for example. And I didn't know that was, to me, that was bad.
I ate a worm once.
I poured salt on a snail and I cried for days.
Oh,
Right.
and you know what else I used to do? Those little moths that sat in the grass. I used to take all the silver stuff off their wings because I thought it would make me fly.
I would
used
rip
Right.
the things off of the lightning bugs.
Right.
Put
So we
them
did all these little, we were just curious, right, as kids.
Tony's
That's what-
keeping quiet.
Terrible. What'd you do, Tony? Come
I would
on.
always make the ants swim across puddles and basically drown them and then bring them back to life on the shore.
Did you give them mouth to
Right.
mouth?
Yeah.
What did you do?
They would just start.
Little
They would
tiny
just come back.
compressions.
They would come back to life.
Yeah. So as kids, we were curious, if you remember.
Yeah.
We were curious about, I was fascinated with matches. When I first found out I could strike this match on the thing, I got a little out of control. I was a little fire starter for a hot minute there, but I I learned my lesson, like putting your hand on the stove, stuff like that. I have scars on these two fingers because I had an iron that fell on my fingers when I was 3, and I still have those scars from where that hot iron burned me. So I learned my lessons really early, on an early age, but that is the essence of our, when we were kids, is what we need to return to as adults. It doesn't mean to act childish or something like that. It just means we need to have that
joy.
We need
Joy.
to get really the magic of manifesting, and all these things we're going to talk about are that feeling in your heart, that feeling, that curiosity, that excitement. We need to get that back in our life, because when we become an adult, we get caught up in the rat race, working, money, bills, and all that's fear. What's going to happen if I don't pay my mortgage? What's going to happen if I don't pay my hospital bill? For some of us, we'll never be able to pay off our hospital bill. So the
Which
point
seems
there,
crazy to me.
now, yeah. So capitalism is awesome until you get sick.
Yeah.
And unless you're very wealthy, the 1% of the 1% of the world don't have to worry about any of that, but the rest of us do. So in our capitalist, I think there should be I think the best kind of society should be probably a hybrid of both the socialism like you have in UK, Karen, and what we have now here is capitalism, or a corporation type of. But the problem is neither one is perfect, and I think a hybrid of those two might be better, not perfect, but better. Where, but anyway, we don't want to get into politics.
Yeah, we're going off. Yeah, let's avoid that.
Boo. No.
Yeah, you just whip me back in line when I get off track.
Well, the thing is, I just want to say
tangents.
that the childhood, or the child in us, is just beaten out of us through trauma after trauma after trauma. And part of the work that we do is to bring that back.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah. So just to let little people know my background a little bit before we get into things. I graduated high school in 1988, and I went right into the Air Force. I had a very awesome career. I worked for a national security agency, basically, even though I was in the Air Force. And that's under the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is run by the Army. And they have field stations all over the world that we go to once we graduate. In the Army, they call it AIT. We call it tech school. So I went to U.S. Army Intelligence School up in Boston. That's where it was at the time. And now that same school is down in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. But from there, I did the whole Pacific Rim. I was in what's called signals intelligence. So I copied Morse code and direction finding and all kinds of cool stuff. And then I had to learn everything there is to know about electromagnetic signals. That's how I know a lot about how electromagnetism works. And that's why our body's electric too. All these waves flowing all around us, microwaves, gamma rays. That's when you talk on your cell phone, that's microwaves. That's why, remember, we used to have these little things on our belt we used to store our phones in. Well, all the microwaves, see, your phone is, even when you're not using your phone is talking to towers all the time. And that's exchanging microwaves. And microwaves is the same thing you heat your food up with. And if you're exposed to those, your body, it can harm us, really. And I used to anyway.
Love my microwave.
I don't have one.
I was just having this conversation earlier today about microwaves, and I was like, it does not affect me. I do not allow it. I have put up my shield and I'm using my microwave.
Yeah. We don't have a microwave in this house. We use like oven fryer or air fryer. And we have a toaster oven and things like that. And I've always had a microwave my whole life until I came here to live with JFro. But so that after that, I got into it. I got out of the military after 10 years, 4 tours of duty. And then I taught myself computer programming in the military. And then when I got out, that's what I did. Eventually I retired as a manager for software development, and as it relates to interfaces to all the banks in the world. So that little chip in your debit card, the RFID chip, we did the research and development for that. It's called EMV. So yeah, my whole career, I've been in the technical environment until I got sick in 2008. That's when I got really sick, and I was able to work 5 years after that, but then I just lost everything, and that set me on this path to where we are today.
So listen, we're talking about fear, and I want to know, just from your experiences you've had, what tips you have for overcoming fear. Because I know you've been through a lot, Mark. So do you have any advice?
It's a pure miracle we're even talking right now, really, in the grand scheme of things, looking back. But I came back to this body to deliver these messages to everybody. And I'm so grateful for that. And that's another thing I want to talk about in a little bit, is gratefulness.
It's a good one.
Being grateful. Yeah, because gratefulness and love vibrate almost at the same frequency. Actually, being grateful is higher than love, believe it or not. It's a higher frequency. So you want to have gratefulness in your heart. At the same time, you put love in your heart. That way you supercharge your soul. That way, the more love and gratefulness you have in your heart, the higher vibration you can attain. But fear, what is fear? And I think we need to separate a couple things. There's fear, like a woman would have, of a spider, That seems to be a common theme, spiders or snakes. But there's
I
some women
love
who like
spiders.
there's some women like spiders and snakes, right? So can't say all
It'll be
women.
this one right here. This one does. Both.
Right.
Good.
So that's not the kind of fear I'm talking about. I'm talking about a fear that holds you back from attaining the high vibration. It keeps us in a lower vibration. Any kind of fear, like fear of heights, fear of claustrophobia, all these fears, or fear of trying new things, or having new experiences. Have you guys all ridden a roller coaster before in your life? No.
Ridden a what? What?
You did with me in the dream in that Jeep or that.
Oh, that was Kaz's dream.
Yeah, I know.
You two were off-roading in a dream one night.
Remember
we were going to the holes of a Menti or something.
Left me right out of it.
Oh, you guys know about
sorry, Mark, I misheard what you said. I thought you said something about an orchestra.
I thought so too. I was like, I've never ridden one of those. I've listened.
No, a roller coaster.
Roller
coaster, yes.
Kaz and I were on the same reality at that point.
Okay, so think back on the first time you ever rode the biggest roller coaster. I remember mine.
Yeah.
I was in Nashville and I was at Opryland. That doesn't exist anymore, but we used to have Opryland. If you guys remember,
I went there to the old
Opryland.
I did. Yeah. And
now
it's moved
right
now.
down
Yeah.
the way from us.
And who knew years later I was going to be taking passengers there from their hotels and stuff for different shows at the Grand Ole Opry. But back then we had a full-fledged theme park there, and which is now a big mall they built called they call it the Opryland Mall.
The Gaylord. Isn't it the Gaylord something? Yeah.
Gaylord's the resort north of there, but then the mall itself,
it's big.
Can't remember. Yeah, it's huge.
I like
it's one of the only malls.
You guys love a mall, don't you?
We do. That's our
malls
thing
are
over
awesome.
here.
Food court is cool because you get to walk around and get all the samples, and then you can get full just on samples.
I don't ever think to do that.
Food.
Kaz is like, I'll go
to the food court.
Can I try that one too? Okay.
I didn't know you could get samples. Gosh, I'm missing out.
Oh yeah. Also, that mall has everything in it. So that's pretty much all the malls that are left are malls like that one. Like it's basically a tourist attraction, but it has all the main stores you're used to seeing in there. But it also has like the Rainforest Cafe, like you have in Dallas, Grapevine Mall, and the Mall of America and stuff like that. So those are the only malls that have really survived all the online onslaught from Amazon and everybody. Because just think about all the money it takes to run a mall, all the air conditioning costs, and
Edie says it's called Opry Mills. That's it.
Opry Mills. That's it.
Thank you, Edie.
Oh,
how did we get onto malls anyway? What's happening?
From fear to malls.
Fear. Okay.
You should probably fear malls.
Spiders.
Actually.
Yeah. So the reason we got on the topip because I was asking you guys if you've ever ridden one.
Roller coaster.
And I remember my first one was And at Opryland there used to be a roller coaster called the Wabash Cannonball. And my dad tricked me on getting onto it. He said, "Oh, this is just a little kiddie roller coaster," but that one actually did loops and everything.
Did it go backwards? Did it go backwards?
I don't think so. No, but it was just like your standard steel roller coaster where you do loops and things and centrifugal forces. But once I realized what I was on, it was too late. I was strapped in and we were going and
now.
Yeah, and I was crying. I remember I was only like 5 years old at the time. And but I remember the terror of getting to the top of the hill and then going down at 5 years old. And I was just barely high enough. I was tall for my age, so I just barely fit on that little, they had a little yardstick there. It said, "Can't ride until you're this high." Well, I was just tall enough to get on that roller coaster. So I remember crying through the whole thing, and then my dad said, "You want to go again?" And I was like, "Yeah." So fear is just like that.
Can be
If you're
addicting, can it?
yeah,
Sometimes.
once you figure out what fear is, then you can attack it. And so if you're afraid of heights, you need to strap on a parachute and jump out of a plane. Yes.
That's where Heather goes.
I want to do that.
Or
Really?
or the equivalent. Well, you already know we don't die. Right?
So how do I overcome
I'm
my
not ready
fear
to
of
lose my
spiders?
body.
I do have a fear of spiders.
I can do
so
that.
how?
I'm going to give you the TikTok channels that did it for me. They make spiders look adorable. And once you see how sweet and cute they are, they're your best friends. Not all spiders. I wouldn't you
don't want a
big, massive, leggy thing, but the cute
those are
ones.
Those are the harmless ones, the big fuzzy ones. Those are
like
tarantulas,
those.
and the name
Not the big ones,
tarantula.
small.
It has been our Hollywood again knows about all these things like spiders and rabid dogs and whatever.
I'll send you some videos, Kaz.
The
turn you.
The fog now. Fog is negative.
I'll fix you. You're gonna have pet spiders before this is over.
So that doesn't mean don't go out and get a pet black widow.
No,
I'm not going to.
Chances of finding those guys is kind of rare anyway. You'd have to actually get under an old pile of wood or something.
Okay.
We fought those before in another life, Kaz. That's why
This
you're
is
scared.
it. I mean,
God, wasn't that a session?
It was a session.
Yeah.
Like the War of the World movie where it's just these huge, big, long-legged. That's what I think of when I see a spider.
I've had clients on planets with big, giant spiders that were bigger than them. I think Mars, wasn't it Mars that has
Mars?
Oh no, you're thinking of the movie Starship Troopers.
No, I'm thinking of a session.
It is a session.
Where somebody went to the planet and there were giant spiders and they had to hide out in the caves because these spiders and things would come out and try to eat them.
I mean, they're like spider beings.
Yeah, there was a movie like the whole Chronicles of Riddick series. It started off the first one. It was like that, and then of course we had before that you had Alien with Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, horrific.
Those were kind of ugly looking things. And then Predator. See, that's okay. So all the spiders that people are afraid of are the easiest ones to hold, like Big Daddy Longlegs, like War of the Worlds one, right?
Yeah.
Those are harmless. And spiders are good. They actually kill bugs, all the bugs that bug us all the time. Spiders are really good.
We're still on spiders over here.
But why do we need to have any of these bugs and spiders and snakes?
Do you think we'll have them in 5D? I've wondered about that. Like maybe the bugs, but can we just leave mosquitoes and ticks over here?
Yeah, but once you see that everything has a purpose, every plant has a purpose, by the way, too.
What is the purpose of a tick or a mosquito?
A mosquito. I've wondered about mosquitoes.
Well, I'm a Lyme disease survivor, so I know all about ticks. But but ticks didn't create Lyme disease; they just transmit it. And not just ticks, but mosquitoes can carry Lyme disease as well. But Lyme disease is a man-created disease, but that's a whole other topic to get into at a later time. You guys ever want to learn more about how Lyme disease came about, then you need to study New Lyme, Connecticut. That's where it started. And it started when an insect got out of a laboratory. After World War II, we employed all the scientists that were still alive. They came here and they started some of the things you might have heard of, like the CIA and NASA. And we have a big biological warfare program even today, and that all got started with something called Operation Paperclip. You can Google that, and
I've looked into that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, it's not the tick's fault. every insect and every bug has a role to play. It's like everything has a purpose. Everything was created for a purpose. I'm not convinced that a single person or entity created all these things. As a matter of fact, I think it's more of a different things in our world were created by beings, or if you will, or entities that were making like things like they look like. For instance, there are beings that look like a spider, or look like a bird, or look like a lizard. So I think a lot of the things we see are just creations from different entities. And this is like a giant petri dish.
Well, I would like to have a talk with the beings who thought ticks and mosquitoes and fleas were a good idea.
Who doesn't like honey? Bumblebees, yeah.
Bumblebees are powerful.
Yeah.
There's
there's beetles that have wings that can levitate. They can defy gravity.
Stag beetles. We had them when I was kids, when I lived in like West London.
Yeah.
And they fly like this. And they have big pincers here. And
what do you mean they fly like that? Like not
they kind of stand up and their wings go like this. Look up stag beetles, they're horrific. And they have these big pincers, and they used to bite me. My leg would just balloon. That's
horrific. That's like a nightmare.
Why is that here? What is that? Oh, now we're just being bad on bugs.
Let's move away from the bugs, please.
Alice had a question though. She wants to know, what's the island called where they made Lyme's disease? Do you know, Mark?
Plum Island.
Plum.
Plum, Plum.
Wow.
That's one of our facilities. And try to get near that island. You'll find that you'll be met by some Homeland Security people before you even get near it. Or we have one in Fort Frederick, Maryland. We have a biological warfare center there. And guess where I grew up a lot of my life? In Maryland. So people in Maryland know about Lyme disease a lot, but I got diagnosed in Florida. Doctors there know nothing about Lyme disease. And really in medical school, they told me, because after I got clinically diagnosed, I went around to all the doctors that were just throwing various drugs at me. They didn't know what I had. I went and educated them on it. And
we had a wonderful Tuesday Talks, a couple of months ago, Heather?
Yeah, with Jessica.
Yeah, who spoke about her Lyme disease journey.
Oh my goodness, it's horrible. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Yeah, she said the same, I think.
Yeah, I went to work for like 3 or 4 years with the IV in my arm, getting antibiotics. And still to this day, I'm not well, but I have good days and bad days. And anyway, getting back to fear. I think the number one, I would say the number one fear people have is to die in any situation, right? And if only people knew what I know, they wouldn't be afraid at all. And that's why when I had my first interview in January, and it was a divine intervention that caused me to be on this podcast in the first place. I wasn't even interested in talking about NDEs and near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences. None of that was on my mind at the time. And just this random link popped up in my suggestion on YouTube. And it was the Jeff Mara podcast. And I felt in my heart that I needed to go on there and tell my story of my near-death experience. So that's how that happened. And when I did that, all these people came looking for more answers. I could just sit here and talk to you for a few hours about all the things that happened when all that started happening, just a bunch of miracles. But everybody, I talked to every one of my subscribers that have come to my Facebook side. I talked to each one of them personally, and what most of them wanted to learn more about is astral projection.
Mm.
And I was like, yes, of course. If you learn how to astral project, then you can experience what I experienced when I died. And then you'll know our bodies are just vessels. And then you won't be afraid to die. So it's like a chain reaction. So
can you tell us a little bit about your NDE? I know Alice is interested in hearing a little bit about that.
Alice?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of, I have interviews all over YouTube now. You can go listen to them. Go to Jeff. I think we even touched on it with you, Karren, you and I. But basically, I'll just tell you a real
what did you see when you crossed over?
What did I experience?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you how it started, and then it's too long. That's an hour interview, hour and a half interview, just to tell you a Cliff Notes version. And just imagine being gone from this reality for 1,000 years, and that's basically the time frame we're talking about.
Wow.
I could write books all day long on what I experienced.
Amazing.
But I chose to write a live book on my YouTube channel. I'm writing a live book.
Yeah.
So in time, you'll get to hear about all my experiences. But basically, my heart stopped, my breathing got affected during a surgery I was having, and I came out of my body. And then I got sucked into an electrical outlet in the operating room. It's like a tractor beam was pulling me in, and I went into, where you stick the 2 prongs in to the wall. I went through that, and I went down a long wormhole tunnel fast. I can tell you the speed of light seems fast to us, like 186,000. What is it? Is it meters a second, or no? Whatever it is, that's fast, right? But that is still not. You're talking about Sirius, the brightest star in the sky we can see. That is 8.3 light years from Earth. So it would take 8 years to get there if you were traveling at the speed of light. Now, that our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, is like I don't know how many thousands of light years across. So just to get out of our galaxy would take you a long time if you were traveling the speed of light. So there has to be another mechanism that's way faster than the speed of light, right? You might call that gravity. But yeah, there's faster ways to travel throughout the universe. And you're really not traveling. We're already everywhere else. We're all connected. So I know it's a hard concept to understand. But anyway, I went down this long wormhole, and when the wormhole stopped, I was looking in a mirror in a alternate version of San Diego, California. And I've never been to San Diego before in this life that I know about. But I have a strong connection to San Diego somehow. Even before this experience, I had a connection there. In that, I realized eventually after a few minutes that I was looking at myself in the mirror, but the body I was looking at was a 16-year-old boy. So I didn't recognize it. I thought I was just observing somebody else's life. And this same thing went on and on and on. I was able to experience all these other lives that we're living, at least I was, while this life is going on. And the whole time I was experiencing all these lives and all these other dimensions. You can think of dimensions. I'm still understanding them in this mind. When you come back, your mind processes information differently than when you're out of body. But just imagine, and also another concept you must understand is the past and future is all happening right now.
No.
Same that we're talking. And what I'm going to say next has already been said. We've proven that over and over the last few years in quantum physics, that there's always more than one possibility. But there's a set of possibilities that are definitely going to happen, and there's a set of possibilities that may or may not happen based on your choices, but all of it leads to the same finish line. But so 45 years ago, when I got bit by the first tick, that's still happening, that moment. Now, try to imagine that. So the big thing I want to tell is going to come in a minute, Karen, but a new epiphany of mine. But that is basically, in a nutshell, my first near-death experience. And then later on, I was in a coma in 2017, and I had a second interview with Jeff about that, because I wanted people to know the difference between being in a coma and dying. There's two different animals. But you can, for me, it was a near-death experience. At the time, it was happening because I woke up while I was in a comatose state.
Wow.
I woke up in the coma, and I didn't know I was going to be in a coma before that. So I guess if there was complications during my last two surgeries I had 13 surgeries altogether. So yeah, I'm telling you, it's the coma was the worst of the two. Near-death experience is cool because you're free from your body, but in the coma you're trapped in your body. So but there is a point when I was in a coma state where there was a void. It started off, I was in like a black void, and I've heard this, a lot of people talk about this void, so I know all about it because I experienced it. But it's like a bridge. It's like a bridge between this illusion and what's on the other side, people call it, or on the other side of the veil. There's this black void. So it's like a membrane, if you will, between the two, between dimensions.
That's been coming up in a lot of my sessions recently, the void.
That's come up in one of mine too.
So I've seen the void and I felt it. So yeah.
We were on astral travel. Listen, I want to ask you, why is it important, do you think, for people to have that experience of coming out of the body? I kind of want to be able to do it. And I've tried, Mark, using your technique, and I can't quite get there because I want to know what it feels like to come out and feel free.
So anybody that watches my videos, my live streams on astral projection, because I give all the keys to the kingdom in those 2 or 3 podcasts, but we're going to talk about it more going in the future. We're going to refine things, because even though I've done it a bunch of times, I haven't done it in 10 years. So I'm way out of practice.
It scared the mess out of me so I went through a little phase of trying to do it like a long time ago. And I could get to the place where I would feel like this strong vibration and almost like a noise in my head that would scare me so bad it felt like my soul was being ripped from my body. And I was like, no,
that's it.
I didn't know enough, but I tried a few times, but I never got further than that.
To have success with astral projection or any kind of meditation, because astral projection is just a form of meditation. And then I realized recently, just in the last few months, that I've always been able to project while awake. Imagine that.
Wow.
I figured out how it works. And you don't even have to get in that hypnagogic, did I say that right, Karen? Hypnagogic state. You don't have to be in that state to go interdimensional. You can do it. I do it at will somehow, especially when I'm real tired. I'll just fade in and out. I always thought, when growing up, I thought I was just going into dreamland or something. And people would ask me, what are you saying or something? And I would just say, oh, you won't understand or something. But then I realized when somebody cared, I guess, about it, they realized what I was doing, and they started to regress me while I had crossed over. And that's something I want Karen to work with me on in the future too. More about that and see where I can give you more intel on that. But the reason it's fear is the number one reason you will not be able to astral project, because yeah, it's a problem. You're going to have a problem until you just get rid of fear.
Yeah.
And really, I'm going to tell you something, another secret. The Bible is a big manual on how to astral project. I'm telling you right now.
Wow.
I know
Kaz is like, explain, please.
Yeah, the Bible, all the ancient scriptures and everything. Thoth, you know about Thoth because the Emerald Tablets were written by this entity. He's Hermes Trismegistus is another name for him. He was a high priest in ancient Egypt, and he was able to reincarnate over and over at will. And he wrote the Emerald Tablets, and that's basically a manual on how to astral project as well. So what's so special about astral projection? Your viewers might ask. The important thing to know is, so in the Bible, when it's talking about the kingdom of heaven is within inside you, love your neighbor as your brother, all these things have a common theme, love. And to astral project, you have to have your heart full of love. If you want to go to the nicer realms, there are darker realms you can go to.
There are.
So if you have a lot of hate in your heart, you can also do it, but you're not going to have a good experience, I promise. But there's also our mind. You have to understand our brain. I call it a spirit trap because our brain is designed for us not to remember all the lives we're living right now. It's designed to only let us experience what our five senses can pick up. But there is a way to short circuit it and leave your body. And to do that, you have to do basically everything it teaches in the Bible to do. That's my point. You don't have to get in a spaceship. Heaven is right here. It's everywhere. You just can't see it because we're stuck in this
mind
3D world here. But
I want to get in a spaceship, please.
Yeah, there are spacecraft for sure, and they have their now. Something I found out recently that blew my mind, and I'm brand new to it. This is talking about 3 weeks old now. This concept. Our resident angel Samba told me that not only can you go through portals to other dimensions here on this planet, some people call it Gaia or whatever you want to call it, Terra. There's portals to higher dimensions, like the fifth dimension you mentioned before. There's portals right here, like in Mount Shasta, which is like a 3-hour drive from here, is one. There's apparently a portal there. You can not only go in, but you can take your body, this physical body, with you. That's something I never knew you could do. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Yeah.
I had a session last week where there was this guy, my client, took me on a journey where there was a portal or many portals. They weren't known to anybody but this gatekeeper. And they were ordinary people like us in ordinary houses, in ordinary streets, in ordinary places.
Oh, yeah.
And they were gatekeeping portals they weren't known about by many people.
Yeah.
Take me.
Have you guys, and no, you don't have to find them, they'll find you. A matter of fact, if you go on my Facebook page or my Facebook group, it's called Game of Scrolls, like Game of Thrones, but Game of Scrolls. One of our members came up with that rule in the early days. Came up with that name, and it's stuck. And so now that's what we call our soul tribe now, is Game of Scrolls. But I have a post on my feature section right now that a guy I found who he has a bunch of interviews on YouTube about his experience going to a city he called Talos through the portal at
underneath Mount Shasta. Yeah.
And you can see it. You can see these portals. Have you guys ever watched the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
where he's on that ledge and he has to take a leap of faith,
Mhm.
and it just looks like he's going to step off into nothing, but he throws the sand on it and then he sees a walkway.
Yeah.
That's sort of how portals will look. You just have to be looking and at the right angle and also be vibrating at a certain frequency to see that. But so this guy, the reason I'm mentioning this guy is I have a link to this guy's website, and he has a handbook that he wrote on how to get your vibration high enough to go to Telos. And there he said they came and got him and gave him a tour of Telos.
Wait a minute. Is he like an older gentleman?
Yeah,
I feel like
I
I
don't know.
saw this interview.
I used to think I'm 54. I used to think that was old, so I don't know. But
yeah, I think I
he's
saw
old,
that.
he's
It was
older
really
than me.
good.
I think he's about 10 years older than me, maybe.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
he's
was a really
still
good
young then.
story.
Yeah, so yeah. Oh, last night I watched an interview with a World War II veteran that was 95. And he looked and sounded just like maybe he was pushing 70, maybe.
Wow.
And that's another cool thing. All this ties together. It's so I'm trying to keep this all together so we don't get off track. But every day that goes by, once you start feeling, once you get rid of fear in your life, because I want to stay on that topic. Once you get rid of fear in your life, you're going to see that you're totally free. Totally free. Imagine that, having a feeling that you're so free. And once you complete that task, then doors start opening to you. You're going to start to get epiphanies.
Yes.
Of all the stuff that you've been unpurposely blocking from yourself.
Yeah.
Once you start remembering that we're all gods, and I know saying that sounds weird, but really, in the grand scheme of things, we're all God. Think about that. All of us make up what we call God or Source or Allah, whatever you want to put a name to it. We are that. We're all pieces of that. We're individual, but we're all together too at the same time. So I am Karren, I am Tony, and I am Heather, and you are Mark. We're all the same. And once you start thinking like that,
I love that.
once you start thinking like that, then so many things start to happen in your life in a good way.
I agree.
It's not the good deeds we do, it's how we make others feel. That's the most important thing. How you make somebody else feel, that is the most important thing. That's why in the Bible or whatever you want to reference, you want to pull up, it says love your neighbor as your brother. Well, some neighbors don't get along, so maybe that doesn't apply, but what it means is the golden rule: treat others as you would have them treat you. And that once you get that concept down, and then so we're here to experience all these things, and then we could get into other topics if you want, if we have time.
Mark, Mark, I've still got a list of things.
I know. We could talk about walk-in lives.
Oh, those are fun.
We could talk about non-player characters, which have a different type of soul than we do.
We're going to have you back on like 3 or 4 more times after this.
Oh, don't put a limit on it.
No.
Yeah, we all have to come together right now. We have to share. Don't be afraid to speak up and meet us, talk with each other.
Yeah,
that's what I've been encouraging everybody to do the past 5 months. Is we all have a piece of this puzzle. We have to share with each other what we feel and what we know inside. We all have a unique piece of the puzzle because we're all together. We're all one. And we have to remember, and that's the way we remember, is collaborating. If you think about back through history, we've never had the internet. We could never collaborate across the earth. Just imagine back in the old days, not too long ago, it took a month for a message to cross the Atlantic Ocean, for example. They had to get on a boat and they had to ship it across the Atlantic Ocean. And just imagine writing a letter, and it took a month to get there. Now we can just turn our computer or phone and send a message, and it instantly gets there.
I know. I used to like getting a handwritten letter though. I miss it.
Yeah. I remember.
I'll write you a letter, Kaz.
That would be nice.
I'll write you a letter.
It'll cost you like a fortune to post it. But I like that.
Here's your $35 letter.
Yeah. And because of all this new technology, it gets us out of the habit of actually writing things down. That's a good, that's part of a good manifestation practice, is to write down what you want. But you don't have to, but it's a good way to reinforce in your mind what you want. But anyway, we're still in fear, right?
and a bit of astral travel. Yeah.
So they go hand in hand. So if you follow the steps I lay out in my videos on how to astral project, you will have success if you do exactly what I say. But you have to have love in your heart, and I speak about that, and you have to get rid of fear, and it's not easy. That's 99% of people will never astral project on purpose if they have fear in their life. You got to get rid of that. So getting back to the beginning, Tony, so you have to, just like they say, you have to face your fears, no matter how horrible or horrific they are. You have to face them somehow, and that includes past traumas. And now a lot of my new intel I have is about how to do that. Like, for example, I'll tell you real quick, my newest epiphany I had, and a new technique I found to help you get rid of fear. So like I said, your past lives, lives past and this life are still happening. And I was like, why didn't I think of this before? So if you want something now, ask your future self to help you get it now.
Yes.
Okay. And what I mean by that is not just talk, but imagine. Our imagination is very important. When you think about something, it happens. It's the law of attraction. So if you really believe in something, you really want something, whether it be money or whatever you want, a relationship, you have to just surrender to that. Number one, you have to surrender and say, I'm grateful, and be grateful for what you have first. Gratefulness is what you have to have in your heart to get anything to manifest. And I found that saying it out loud, what you want, is important too. Not just saying it in your head, but actually vocalizing it.
Singing it, Mark. Have you tried, or making a rap? Or
yeah. Any way to say it. Like, we are creators. We are creators. So
like,
I'm rapping out. I'm rapping out my manifestations over here at the moment.
Yeah, speaking of rap, if you want to see a really awesome freestyle rapper, check out Harry Mack. You'll find him on TikTok and YouTube. He's amazing. You'll think he's an alien from outer space.
I can see Tony turning into a rap star.
Oh yeah, with my black fingernails.
With your black fingernails and your toes.
Oh yeah,
and your toes.
Tony, have we got any questions in the chat about what we've been talking about so far?
Not really. Not any questions. But one thing I want to say that, like, Mark's talking about his NDE, and I love the similarities between NDEs and our sessions, journeys and such. And we're talking about trying to get rid of fear. And the thing with fear is, once you see where that fear comes from, just like we do in our sessions, once we see where that fear comes from, it's so easy to release it. Mm-hmm. And like in an NDE, you see what you might fear, and where it comes from. It's so easy to release it. So like in our sessions, it's
just like talking to a therapist or a psychologist. When you talk about something, it makes you feel better, right? Getting something off your chest.
Well, no, you actually see it for yourself where it came from, and you see
Right.
that it doesn't apply in this life.
Yeah.
Right.
And so then it's easy for you to get rid of it.
You're talking about regressing to
Yeah.
past lives. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Once you see it, you can let it go because you
And
now know what it's
Exactly.
connected with.
That actually has a healing effect too in this
So
body.
healing. Yeah.
and it might not even be past lives. It might be parallel lives. It might be
Parallel
in this
lives, yeah.
and this life. It might be something. But once you see where it came from, then you're no longer afraid of it because you see where it is. It's just like going to a haunted house. You see that monster is just
Right.
a damn person. So
It's an illusion.
then
Yeah.
it's easy for you to release it.
Exactly. And
Release.
the number one thing, think about it. People are afraid to die. Like, okay, let's take a good example, a visual example everybody knows, or those of us that are our age especially knows 9/11. Remember the planes crashing into buildings. And I'm sure most of your viewers probably, like I did, because I didn't know all this information back then. I felt so sorry for the people that were on those planes. Da, 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 da. Now I see it in a whole different light. Now I know, based on my experiences and based on physics, that before those planes even hit the World Trade Center, those souls and those bodies already came out.
Yeah.
Same if you're in a car wreck. It depends on the amount of, how should I say?
Probability that you'll survive.
Probability. Yeah, quantum physics works on probabilities. Okay, so if it's 100% knowable that you were going to not survive that accident at
You're
that
just out of
moment,
there. Yeah.
at that 0 point moment, you will come out of your body.
That came out in a session that I did a few months ago where we were talking about the big earthquake. Was it in Turkey? And the guide said all of those people that were in those collapses were taken out of their body before they experienced any pain.
100% true.
So that came through in that one. Like they said, we would never let them suffer, knowing that was the experience they were going to go through.
Right. Yeah, and that kind of dovetails into something else about astral projection. There's a lot of techniques. You can do the meditative technique, but there's also shortcuts you can get out of your body. If you're in a lucid dream and you know you're dreaming, which that's a whole nother process to go through to get good at that. You have to know you're in a dream. You're sort of in a dream within a dream within a dream. It's like Inception. But if you know you're dreaming and you're in a dream, all you have to do is fall backwards or jump off a cliff or a building in your dream, and you'll come right out of your body.
Wow.
And the difference between being out of body and a dream is significant. You will know you're in an astral projection experience when you're out of body, because you'll be just like we're talking now. You will have the same awareness. But,
do you think then if you fall in a dream, because normally you wake yourself up, right? Is that to stop yourself coming out your body, do you think?
Yeah, I think that is a built-in safety valve.
Oh.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Our brain, your brain will trick you into keeping you here. It's that complex. Like when you're getting close to coming out of your body, if you're meditating, you're going to see things that cross your vision, that faces you've never seen before, and all these distractions. Your brain will distract you from doing it. It will superimpose scary things to you. Whatever your fears are, they will come to life when you're trying to astral project. And that's when you have to say it's all an illusion. You can't die. Once you realize you're immortal, then you're not scared anymore. And no matter what comes up in your field of vision or whatever, you'll hear door, you'll swear somebody's knocking on your front door. I hear gunshots. It's one of my, I also hear what people call chakras. I can hear them release inside me. It's really loud.
Wow.
When it happens. It's like the brakes on a city bus or a big rig. I hear that. Yeah.
You spoke about that before, Mark. The chakras just holding your soul into the body, and then
they're electromagnets, biological electromagnets in my book. That's what holds our soul to our body. That's what, and it's very but attraction is so tight. That's why to release those, you have to get into a meditative state to relax them. And we do it every night. We just don't remember it. Your soul doesn't require sleep like your body does. So while your body's sleeping, you can go anywhere in the universe you want to. Just imagine.
Oh, and we do. I hear that more
We
than
do.
anything, that
We do.
so many people wake up so tired and sleepy, and it's because they're so busy. They're busier. One session they were like, this life that you're in, this earth life, is almost like your vacation life. When you're sleeping, that's when you're doing the real work. I was like, like I'm doing the real work now.
See, I've said this before. I think when I'm asleep, my dreams are like a video that I put on for my mind to be occupied.
It's keeping you busy
while my soul is off doing something else. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah.
Just pop the dream tape in to keep her mind busy, and then I'm off.
Yeah. Just
Kaz is just putting the kid in front of the TV while she
That's
steps
what
out
it
there.
is, isn't it?
So cool.
Putting some TV show on for the kids and then sneaking out the door.
Yeah.
I just wish that TV show was something that we could understand, because my dreams are so weird. They're so weird. They just don't make any sense.
Yeah, there's several types of dreams. One is the symbolic dream, what you call weird, where you're working out things
with other people,
problems in real life, in this life.
Yeah.
But there's also the other type of dream, are the vivid dreams, where you're getting glimpses of other lives you're living right now at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the confusion part of it, Heather, though, is our mind is trying to fill in the gaps of what it doesn't understand.
Yeah, I think you're right. But sometimes they're just confusing. So strange.
Yeah.
It's like, what was that about?
So the next question people might have is, why are we prohibited from, why do we have to go through so much work and stuff to astral project? Or why does the Bible teach us how to do this? It's simple. It's a game, really, if you think about it. How to escape, like an escape room. We're in an escape room, basically, in this life. And how you escape is the game. The end goal is to escape.
Yes, that's how I feel.
We got to get to the red button. That was in a session.
How do we escape, Mark? Where's the red button?
I'm trying. That's the thing.
Someone find the button, please.
That's what we're trying to figure out, a shortcut to the red button. Exactly. But you can't hit the red button until you learn all these things, like unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness. Button. It doesn't seem like it, but I want to be in. I call it the graduating class. So I want to be in the next class that hits the button. So you can call it ascended masters, or what you want to call it. I don't think you really have to go that deep into it, really, to win the game, so to speak. But I want to tell people that's what I mean by being a little kid. Start to feel that little kid inside you, that imagination part of you, the curious part of you. And, keep a balance between your life, your family, and everything, but also. And that's another frustrating thing people have is, I can't talk about this with my own brother and sisters. They're stuck in this dogma, this religion we were brought up in, and they think all this is from the devil. My dad the same way, but when my dad died, he came and let me know that he understood now everything. For about 3 weeks, he was with me. I know that sounds weird, but it was true. It happened. I knew he died an hour before I got a phone call saying he died, because he visited me at my work and I was the only person there. And he poked me in the back, just like somebody came and poked me right in the back. He used to do that in real life. And he did that while I was sitting in my chair doing some paperwork at my job. He poked me in the back and I swung around looking for who did that. And there was nobody there. I was the only one in the whole building that was left. It was like 7 at night and everybody had gone hours ago. And he did things like that to let me know it was him. And he, because the last conversation we had was actually an argument about my near-death experience. He was trying to tell me it was all from the devil. And I'm like, well, no, that's not right. Because I told him, I said, this is all about love and forgiveness and everything. And I said, if that's from the devil, then people are misconceived of what the devil really is. But anyway, that's a whole other topic we can talk about later, is what I call the family. There is an evil force here, or has a role of an evil. Evil doesn't really exist outside of this construct, really. It's a part of the game, part of the escape room experience. And I think that's why we come here. It's because we come here to experience things we can't experience in spiritual form. Not just here on Earth, but everywhere else.
I just don't think I chose to come here.
As you did, you signed up.
We all chose. As far as everything
you jumped in. You said, I can do it.
No, I did not choose.
You said, I'm going for the food. I'm going for the snacks.
Just imagine, I experienced a infinite amount of lives I was living while I'm in this life talking to you. I'm living an infinite amount of lives in other galaxies and other places and other dimensions. And then there's sub-dimensions I call sandbox lives.
But our attention is kind of focused on this one, isn't it? This escape room thing.
Yeah, but there's cheat codes. Like astral projection is like a cheat code. Kind of like. Now, something I've seen a lot lately in the past few months is this idea of our soul being trapped here.
Yes.
I think that's true. However,
it's like, I am trapped.
People think it's the bad people that are trapped, or the evil forces that are trapping us here. No, we designed that. We as creator gods created.
But even if we did, something has gone wrong, is what it feels to me. Something has gone wrong in the game.
Could be.
I don't believe we invented a game with so much suffering. This is what gets me. I don't get why we would do that.
Remember, you got to turn a negative into a positive somehow, right?
That's a good segue for our question here from Alice. What's your advice for people who are sick of waiting for positive change?
That's the number one problem, Alice, is you are in control of that time you're talking about.
What do you mean by that?
I think Mark froze.
Did he freeze?
Oh, don't go, Mark. We need to know what you meant.
Dun, dun, dun.
Back. It always happens.
I'm live here.
Nope.
There he is.
There you are.
Now he's back.
We got you.
He froze.
Now it says your internet connection is unstable.
Uh-oh. You are lighting up, and you are.
Did you hear the question from Alice? Oh yeah, you did. And then I said, "What do you mean by that?" And then you.
I've been talking to you the whole time. I haven't froze up on my side. Am I okay now?
Yeah.
You're good. Tell us again.
We just had some kind of glitch, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So Alice, the number one problem you have is you're waiting for something to happen. You can't wait. You control your destiny.
Alice, find the red button.
Please, Alice, and bring us with you.
Okay, so if you're waiting if you think things are not going well, number one, things are not going to go well. You have to make the change in yourself. Go inside yourself and make the change you want.
But Mark, you have to think of like homelessness and famine and abuse and rape, and you can't say that it's someone's. I don't get it.
Okay, rape, that's a little bit more difficult to explain, but
all the suffering that people go through, this is the issue. I just can't get my head around.
Look, I could have nobody's suffered more than I have the last 14 years, I can assure you, even though I wasn't raped or whatever. I mean, that's another thing. Guys, we would probably react different to that kind of circumstance than women do. I'm like, why don't why hasn't anybody ever raped me? No, I mean, shouldn't say it that way, but it depends on your perception of the situation. Okay, why are there serial killers? Okay, so we're taught that there's always a boogeyman around the corner our whole life. Think about it. Saddam Hussein, now it's Putin, right? Hitler, Stalin. People talk about Hitler killing all these Jews, but Stalin killed 25 million, not only Jews, but his own people during World War II. 25 million. Nobody ever talks about Stalin. Nobody ever talks about us giving them the weapons to do what they did either. It's all relative when you think about it. Yes, some horrific things have happened, but you must understand that we don't die, we're immortal. So that I know this is not, people are not going to like this answer, but if the rape, okay, let's just take a rape incident. That's already happened. That already happened before it happened. And that was a choice that was made. I'm not saying they chose to be raped, but chances are good they did, to have that experience. Because, okay, I know it's hard to comprehend this, but to learn the lessons that we are meant to learn, whatever those are, you have to be put in situations that can make you have those emotions to make the changes necessary to hit the red button. Does that make sense?
I can see that, because I have had sessions where we've asked about really difficult, horrific experiences, and when the guides bring it through, they bring it through in a way that is, sometimes it's an experience that they needed, just like you're saying, even though the human mind can't even understand why would we ever choose to go through that. But at a soul level, there's a higher reason that you need to experience it for soul growth and expansion. It just does not make sense to the human mind because we're feeling the emotions of the suffering. But I agree with Kaz. It's hard to wrap your head around some of the.
I just think there's something wrong in the game. I think. I think there's something wrong.
I agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that could be. Can't rule that out.
There's multiple perspectives, I think, but it's hard.
Thoughts are electric, feelings are magnetic. What you put out, what you think about, what you feel, you attract that to you.
Yeah, exactly.
So thoughts are electric.
So Alice, if you're thinking that you're waiting on something to happen, it's never going to happen.
How does that apply to babies, and attracting things to them? Anyway, we're getting too
babies. Okay, so
let's change the subject.
No, babies.
I just have so many questions.
Oh, I know. Look. I was told by autistic people and people that are way more spiritual, understanding than I am, very wise people, that the souls the walk-in souls for a baby, for example, when a baby dies at a very young age, for example, what is the purpose of that? If God is so, if God, why does God allow that to happen? That's a common question, right? You must understand the death of that baby is meant to teach a lesson. Okay, so usually older souls will walk in for those kind of volunteerships, if you will. So just think, you were a paramedic, right, Tony, at one point? So you can understand that maybe you as a paramedic needed to see that baby die, or somebody at the crash scene, that death of that baby help somebody to forget. Let's just say a car was hit by a drunk driver. So now you're mad at you have ill feelings toward the drunk driver. Well, you have to get away. You have to turn that negative into a positive. You have to forgive unconditionally in your heart, and that's hard to do, like with a mass shooting or whatever. We're told to hate the person that causes these things, when in reality we should be forgiving and loving that person. That doesn't mean becoming their best friend or anything like that, but you have to embrace every soul the same. That's the whole goal. And this is when I came back from my NDE, that I went around to talk to a bunch of clergymen about this question I had: is, if that's true, what I know is true now, why doesn't God love the devil, the opposite? Valid question, right? Some of the answers I got were, well, there is no going back for the devil. He's made a choice and it can never be undone. I don't subscribe to that at all. I think that's all part of this game, is just, that's why I don't belong to any religion now, because I haven't found one that totally resonates with me, number one. I think there's good and bad, and you also have to understand all religions are infiltrated by what I call the family, the negative, call them the devil, whatever you want to call
it's like the mafia or something.
They've infiltrated
family.
Yeah, the family. They some people.
La familia.
Yeah, like
we need to talk about languages, Mark, before we end this session.
Yeah, let's do, because that's something I haven't even started on my channel yet, and that's the main part of it. I've been on the Facebook side. We've been doing healing and learning, helping people to understand exactly what we're talking about here. People want to know why their loved one died 2 years ago, and let me finish telling you what I was telling you, because that segues into that. So talk to your, don't just talk to your past self or your future self. Go back, things that you always say, if I could do one thing over in my life, I would do this. Go back to those moments where you want to change, where you want to see what would happen if you had done things the way you know would affect the outcome now. And that will adjust your timelines, and everybody's timelines. It's affected by that moment. You can go back to that moment and just picture right before that moment, imagine yourself making the right decision. Okay. And then imagine yourself living after that decision. How would that affect your life now? It's a deep process, but that's a new thing I just figured out. You can do that.
I've started to do that in my sessions with people, get them to figure out what the trauma was the very first time, and then go through their lifetime working on that, and then imagining their future.
Yeah. We can do the same thing every day here. And once you do that, it opens up a whole new world to you. And that adjusts timelines, because I told you your thoughts are powerful and they create things. You can create alternate outcomes. And I don't know how powerful it is yet, because I've only been known about it for a few weeks, but I'm interested to see if things will just disappear. If in this life, if things will just totally, all of a sudden, all these little paradoxes start happening. I've already experienced that already. I just didn't know what was happening. Yeah, just some weird stuff has happened. But
here too.
Just imagine, and if you go back and make different decisions, how can that affect your future? I don't know yet. But all I know, it's a good thing, and it's possible. So yeah, go back, look at all the times in your life, and look for the patterns that have happened. Look to the people that were in your life when those things happen. Like,
I think what it does, Mark, is it starts to deprogram all the programs you set up for yourself. It kind of starts to unravel those.
It does. It definitely would. Definitely will. And I'm just in my infancy in understanding this power. but languages. So the reason I started my channel, the whole theme of the channel is remembering who we are by learning ancient languages in this case. So when I was 20 years old, before I knew any of this stuff we're talking about, I remembered that I wrote Japanese in another life, or I didn't know how it was happening, but I just had this remembering of writing these characters. So I went to University of Hawaii, where I was on Oahu there. This is back in 1990. And I bought a book on how to write characters. And when I opened the book and started looking at these characters, I just naturally wrote them. I already knew them. I didn't know how to say them, but I knew them. And that's, it wasn't until my near-death experience where I put the two and two together of how I remember them. I actually was able to experience a life in ancient Japan where I was a woman in that life. But I acted as a man because all my brothers were killed, and I wanted to get vengeance. I wanted to get vengeance for their deaths. So anyway, I remember writing the characters, but when I got to Japan for my next tour after Hawaii, I actually went to Japan for 4 years. When I wrote, and Japanese people saw me writing, they were shocked because they said, no one writes like this today. Like, this is how the ancients used to write. And that, after my near-death experience, I realized that how I made the connection.
Mm.
So I want to show, I thought by learning other languages, and especially ancient languages with people on my YouTube channel, it would stir the same kind of things in them. They would start to remember who they are in other lives and things like that. Sort of the same thing you do, just on a different kind of, using a different tool. Does that make sense?
So what's happening with the languages, Mark? Because I know you said you haven't like kind of started that yet, but
I'm going to, every time I try to start it, something comes up. Like, it's funny how that's happening.
It's just not time.
Yeah.
or something's trying to stop you.
Or that, yeah.
That could be that, but there's bigger fish to fry. Like, when I first had my first interview in January, within 24 hours, I had 1,000 people send me or subscribe to my channel.
Wow.
Right away in the first 24 hours. And 25% of them came to, a couple of days later, I started my Facebook page, my Facebook group, and a quarter of those 1,000 came, and I met each one, and a lot of them have come and gone, but they needed some help understanding something, and I didn't sleep for the first week. and this has been an ongoing process until now. Is I wanted to build a solid foundation. I figured out that we came together. It didn't take long to figure out we all came together at this time for a higher purpose.
Let's talk about that.
And that's what stopped the language part for now. But I think everything's gotten to a point where I can start focusing on the language now. But before that, we had to build a solid foundation on exactly why we came together. Yeah, so we can talk about that.
Let's talk about why we all came together, you think?
Still learning why. But I believe my vision is we're all going to be able to travel the universe together in spirit form, or maybe with these bodies. I'm not sure.
I'm down with that. I'm ready.
Like think about a giant field trip.
Let's go.
Cosmic field trip. Wouldn't that be awesome? And just think about the
Someone
amazing
find the
tech.
portal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all these megalithic structures, like the pyramids, for example, in Egypt and all over the world, these pyramids were power stations, basically. How they used the power, I'm not sure exactly. But I think if you take the the biggest pyramid in Egypt, they're all pointed to stars, and they had a gold cap. So basically, they created a giant Tesla tower back then, and somehow I think they're all still working. All these megalithic structures are generating some kind of energy field that helps balance our planet in some kind of way. I envision us unlocking those secrets as a group, why those were built, and learning how to use energy again. See, these energy companies and all these people have bought up all the patents from people who wanted to profit off of this information. But that's the key. We have to give it away for free.
Yeah.
This is the main thing. This is why we haven't advanced yet. It's because we have forgotten who we are and forgotten the power we have. The power is not in the head of the government. The power is us across the earth. We are the power. And once we realize that, we can make the earth a better place. And that's why I think we're coming together to make a difference right now, because there's things messed up with the game.
Yeah. I think we're here to fix the game.
We're here to fix the game. We're here to fix the
button.
button.
Behind the button.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Woo, we covered a lot of topics today.
We did.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's been so lovely having you on, Mark. Is there anything you want to end with? Tell people what you're up to, what where they can go and find you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So on Facebook is even if you don't, there's a lot of people who haven't joined because they don't like Facebook. That's fine. Just create a fake name or
that's me.
Something. It's worth it. Yeah. Just create a fake name. It can be Billy Joe Bob or whatever, and just look up Game of Scrolls, all one word. That's the name on Facebook. Come join and share your thoughts. Share talking about and it's a safe place to come. You can talk about your deepest fears, your deepest traumas, because that's one thing we all seem to have in common, all of us that are coming together right now, is we've all been through some kind of massive trauma in our life. Being raped, being molested, whatever. Those are all traumas that need to come out. You have to face those traumas in order to heal properly. And so come and interact. We talk about all these subjects that we talked about today, every day, all day long. Also, YouTube channel you'll want to subscribe to, it's called Old Scrolls. You can look for Old Scrolls, type in Old Scrolls. And the way I came up with that name is I wanted to teach people, I wanted people to remember who they were through writing. So a scroll is an ancient form, a written form. So old souls, old scrolls, sort of a play on words. So Old Scrolls is where you can come as well. And yeah, we're going to be taught. The latest thing we're figuring out is what the fourth dimension is. How to vibrate high enough to experience fifth dimension, because you've heard about this ascension, right, to the fifth dimension. Really, fifth dimension's already here. So to get to the fifth dimension, to experience the fifth dimension, because we're already there, you have a version of you that's there for sure. So to bridge this 3D self and that fifth dimension self goes through the fourth dimension. And this is a dimension nobody ever talks about. So we're learning more about what the fourth dimension is and how to get your vibration less dense. That's the key. The less dense you are, the higher you can go. Yeah.
So Mark, I want to come on one of your live chats. Do I have to be on Facebook or?
Well, for now, until I need to get a license for Zoom because it has a 40-minute window. So eventually I'll have enough money to do that. But right now it's just been sweat equity.
Okay, well, I'm going to have all your details in the all the description and stuff below, and
Yeah.
just want to say thank you.
My channel just got monetized, so that's a good thing. So I can start
Oh, that
making a
is
little
good.
revenue off that, and people can now see where to donate. People don't read the description sometimes. I think they don't understand how they can help or donate to the cause, but now they hopefully will have a better way to do that. I just figured if each subscriber donated 10 cents a month, for example, that would be more than enough I would ever need to keep going.
Well, everyone go check out Mark's channel and give him a like and subscribe and all that stuff. And I hope we have you back soon, because
Thank you for having me. And
I've got a list.
Thank you
of
for being
things.
here.
yeah, you can see that we could talk all day long. You can see how a podcast can go 7 hours easily.
7 hours.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and so all the podcasts we've had that are going to be local to Facebook, they're not all edited yet. And editing takes a long time, as you guys know.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of work. So eventually all those podcasts will be, you'll be able to go back and watch them later. But it's just a matter of me editing them and getting them out there. But I'm going to try to use the Facebook file space. I don't even know how much space they allot, but we're going to find out here shortly.
All right, lovely.
No.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone watching. Sorry, Tony.
Yeah, thanks for
do you wanna-
having me.
Thank you,
Well,
Mark.
So next month we're going to have Dr. Jerry Marzinski with us on the channel. And what day? I was just looking at the day. What is it?
I think it was the 18th. We said.
That
Could be
sounds
making
right
that
to
up.
me.
Yeah, it's the 18th. Yep.
Sounds right.
So
Yeah, and
just so you all know.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me again. I'm really honored to be here with you guys. And anytime you want to talk about any of this stuff and have a new perspective, just let me know and I'll come on here.
I like
Thanks,
talking
Mark.
to you because I feel like I can just say anything and you're just like, yeah, that's not crazy. You know?
Well, I'm just like you guys. I'm a seeker of knowledge, and I'm just learning more and more every day. That's all we're doing. And it's exciting. We're living in exciting times right now.
Very exciting.
Right, I'm going to stop the live somehow. And
Thanks, guys.
we'll see you all
Thanks,
soon.
everyone. Thanks,
Love
Mark.
you all.
Hey, guys.
Love you all.
Love you all.
Bye, guys.